The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Washington State, Ms. Jayapal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Pichai, for coming to testify before us. I, for one, am thrilled that you as a company encourage people to vote. I think we should all do that. I'd love to see Election Day as a holiday. I've been deeply concerned for some time about employers mandating forced arbitration rather than allowing for people to pursue justice. And forcing people into arbitration when they've already experienced a violation of their basic rights, I think, is a deep injustice, and it subjects people who have already been victimized to further victimization. And we've seen research that shows that it discourages people from coming forward to report abuses to begin with. There are very successful companies in your field, including companies like Salesforce, that have thrived while foregoing forced arbitration contracts and clauses. And I think that we can all agree that the argument that eliminating forced arbitration threatens innovation should be dismissed out of hand. Eliminating forced arbitration has been a shared priority by my colleagues on this committee, as evidenced by the fact that our ranking member, Jerry Nadler, as well as Hank Johnson, David Cicilline, and I have all introduced legislation to end the practice. And I was very heartened to see that Google ended forced arbitration, but only in the context of sexual harassment. And so I hope you agree with me that upholding people's fundamental right to safety in the workplace and freedom from discrimination, whether it's based on gender or sexual orientation or race or religion or any other metric, really benefits all of us. And so I wanted to point out that it's particularly critical for companies like Google to take that moral leadership in this space, since there are limitations for affected people to pursue system-wide change through tools like class action lawsuits. And I recognize that this is not exclusive to Google and that it extends to many, many other employers. But since you're here before the committee today, which has jurisdiction over this issue, I want to ask you if you will voluntarily commit to expanding the policy of ending forced arbitration for any violation of a person's rights, not just around sexual harassment, but really for all of your employers and your contractors.
Congresswoman, thanks for the question. It's an important area. One thing, if I could clarify, today our arbitration agreements don't require any confidentiality provisions. That's how we have done it. But as you mentioned, for sexual harassment, we agreed that it should be up to the employees, and we gave them a choice. We are definitely looking into this further. It's an area where I've gotten feedback personally from our employees, so we are definitely reviewing what we could do, and I'm looking forward to consulting and happy to think about more changes here.
Well, we'd love to work with you on that. I think that this really, for people who are listening to this hearing that may not understand this, basically when you sign a contract, as we saw with sexual harassment, some employees don't even know what they're signing away, but they're signing away their ability to actually pursue claims in the justice system by going to forced arbitration. And so I think that this is very, very important. I think your point about confidentiality is important, but that's not the issue here. That is about transparency, but it's not about the basic right of somebody to seek access to due process and to justice in the courts. So what stage are you at in advancing the issue of ending forced arbitration, both on the sexual harassment side, but also in terms of the process for looking at it more broadly? How do we have a timeline? How do we engage with you to make sure that you endorse our legislation as we move forward in the next Congress?
We've already enacted the changes for forced arbitration, for giving arbitration as an option for employees for sexual harassment. We are definitely reviewing what more we could do in this area. I'm definitely happy to have my office follow up as they're thinking about it to get your thoughts on it, and we are definitely committed to looking into this more and making changes.
Thank you. The other issue I wanted to just raise in my last minute is moderating hate speech, and this has come up in a number of different ways, and we appreciate the work that you have done, particularly with YouTube. I know we had Alex Jones in the room earlier, but I think promoting conspiracy theories that are patently false and result in real harm is a problem. Do you agree with the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights assessment that social media played a role, for example, in perpetuating genocide against the Rohingya? And what is Google's responsibility to moderate hate speech on your platforms?
We feel a tremendous sense of responsibility to moderate hate speech. We've defined hate speech clearly as inciting violence or hatred towards groups of people. it's absolutely something which I think we need to take a very strict line on, and we've stated our policies clearly, and we are working hard to make our enforcement better, and we have gotten a lot better, but it's not enough, and so we are committed to doing more here.
Well, we really look forward to working with you on that. And before I yield back, Mr. Chairman, let me just take a point of personal privilege to say I was born in the same state as you in India, and I'm excited to see you leading a company and continuing to show that immigrants to this country contribute great value in spite of some of the rhetoric we hear. Thank you, Mr. Pichai. I yield back.